Minesweeper. Not many games are as ubiquitously familiar, standing right alongside Solitaire as one of the most popular quote-unquote casual games in existence. The kind of game that you play when you're wasting time at work, wasting time ignoring schoolwork, wasting time just to waste time. It's pretty much the definition of a time waster, right? Wrong! Underneath that minimalist facade of squares and smiley faces, Minesweeper is one of the most misunderstood hardcore games ever. Seriously! And if you're raising an eyebrow at that, then just keep watching. Minesweeper is a logic game, where the goal is to sweep for mines, and you do this by clicking the squares on the grid. The idea is to open all safe squares without uncovering a mine and blowing yourself up. Of course, all the mines are hidden at first, so you'll use logic and pattern recognition to figure out where the mines are before clicking them. That's where all those colored numbers come into play, with each one of them signifying the number of mines within the surrounding immediate 8 tiles. Simple enough, except that's just the beginning. Not only can you increase the difficulty to ludicrous levels, but the strategies of playing are nothing short of obsessive. That ticking timer at the top is the key, as is the number of moves it takes to clear a board. For instance, you'll have the ability to flag squares you believe contain mines, but since the game only ends when all safe squares are cleared, this only wastes time, so you may want to ignore flags altogether. This is known to players as the no flags style, or NF. Of course, if you're playing using cording, then you'll want to use flags, which makes pure NF play impossible. What is cording, you ask? Well, it's a strafe performed with the mouse cursor, where you flag a square by pressing but not releasing the right mouse button. Then drag the mouse with the right mouse button still pressed to a number that is fully flagged. Then with the right mouse button still down, press and release the left mouse button to clear the fully flagged number. This is not always the best choice though, since cording on a 1 only requires 1 flag and clears up to 7 empty spaces. Cording on a 7 requires 7 flags, but an NF player can click just once on the empty square, so a mixture of both methods will end up in a better time and an optimal 3BV. And what's a 3BV, you ask? A 3BV, or Bechtel's board benchmark value, is the minimum number of left clicks needed to win a game using NF-style play. For instance, this board takes 39 clicks to clear. However, this number is always balanced with the time that it takes to actually clear the board. There are even utilities to analyze these boards to calculate its 3BV, not to mention the other methods such as IOE, RQP, IOS, Xeni, and OBV. In fact, this stuff got so complex that for serious Minesweeper players, Microsoft versions of the game are no longer accepted for official world rankings due to the numerous bugs, cheats, board cycles, and solvers out there. In fact, competitive Minesweeper is now such a serious subject that there are multiple websites and forums dedicated to board strategies and documenting the game and community's history. And the Clay Mathematics Institute is offering a $1 million prize for an efficient solving algorithm for Minesweeper. You still think this is just a casual time waster? Yeah, I don't think so. Another interesting facet of the game is how it came to be in the first place, since the inspiration is up for some debate. There have been no shortage of games featuring mines, bombs, and hidden traps over the decades, going all the way back to mainframe programs and games written in BASIC in the 1970s, and then you've got games from the 80s which came even closer, such as Minefield in 1982 and Mined Out in 1983. These inspired their own clones and permutations, such as Relentless Logic in 1985 for MS-DOS. Then in 1989, Kurt Johnson wrote a clone of Relentless Logic for IBM's OS/2 operating system. He began working at Microsoft that same year, and a co-worker of his named Robert Donner expressed interest in making a version of the game for Windows as a programming exercise. Kurt supplied Robert with the source code, and this resulted in a game he called Mine. Over its various versions, it included things like collecting hidden coins and a mouse cursor shaped like a foot, which would turn into a bloody stump when you stepped on a mine. Then, in the summer of 1990, Microsoft asked its employees to submit games for its newly released Windows 3.0 operating environment. Robert submitted 2 games. One was Mine, now called WinMine, and Tick Tactics, both of which ended up being released in the first Microsoft Windows Entertainment Pack in October of 1990. Microsoft removed the exploding foot cursor and tweaked some of the graphics and stuff, and the game was renamed to Minesweeper. It was an instant favorite among those that bought the collection, but it wasn't until 1992 that Minesweeper rose to superstardom with its inclusion in every copy of Windows 3.1 and then the subsequent versions of Windows thereafter. Of course, if you're like me, it's still just the game that you open up every so often to screw around with because you've got nothing else to do. I've never cared about 3BV, NF, IOE, FBI, NBC, DICK, or any of those complex initialisms, but I can totally see why some people do, especially if you're logically inclined and the standard fare just doesn't satiate your Vulcan desires. But however you play it, whether by going all XYZZY on it or playing at a pro level, Minesweeper is a legendary game and one that deserves to be mentioned alongside the greats. Maybe that will never happen, but hopefully this video has at least opened your eyes to the surprising possibilities of Minesweeper. If you enjoyed this, then you might enjoy some of my other videos. I've done one on the entire Best of Windows Entertainment Pack, which doesn't include Minesweeper, but includes a bunch of other things, as well as lots of other videos on similar subjects and whatnot, so if you want to browse my channel, that's a good idea, as is subscribing, because that exists too. You can also follow and interact with me on Twitter and Facebook, and do the whole Patreon thing if you like the Patreon thing. It lets you see videos like this early and help support the show. And as always, thank you very much for watching.